Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans and you're watching the John Cedars channel from the bunker, and it's time for another voicemail. I'm afraid I don't have the name on this occasion, but nevertheless, it's a cracking voicemail. Let's take a listen.
Hello, Lloyd. First of all, I would like to thank you for your hard work. I truly appreciate the information that you have been putting out there. And one of those things that truly helped me when I finally was able to break free from the organization last year was your 587-607 video, which proved the 1914 teaching to be wrong. I knew that that was the teaching that the society needed to be able to verify that it was chosen by God, and you truly proved the teaching to be wrong. And when that teaching is wrong, everything just falls. There's no reason to listen to the governing body, no reason to listen to anything that's written in the watchtower, because the foundation is gone. So thank you so much for that. And it's so important with accurate information to be able to mentally break free from the organization, to be able to enjoy the new free life. So that's very important. My question is how to help young ones with this, because I have two daughters which split their time. 50% of the time, every other week, they are in the JW world, and 50% of the time they are in the free world, as I would like to call it. For instance, this week we have been decorating our home with Christmas things, the Christmas tree and so on, and they love it. And my question is about how to help kids that split their time to understand that the JW teaching is wrong and harmful, and that they finally have the possibility to be free, to love whoever they want to study whatever they want to work with whatever they want to think whatever they want to. This is a beautiful thing. But at the same time, you know that they have to live this JW life 50% of their time. And if you bash the teaching too hard, you're afraid that it's gonna be harmful for them. Of course, I would like to free them from everything that has to do with the JW life, but I can't do that because they have to live that life every other week. So I would like to hear your input on how to think, how to get a good balance to help them to be mentally free and to still enjoy life when they are in the JW world.
Well, that is an excellent message. I'm so glad that you called through with that voicemail, because it's actually a very common situation that I don't feel I address enough on this channel. So it's useful to be able to have someone come forward and share their experience of having shared custody with a Jehovah's Witness parent, so that I can at least deal with this particular situation, and maybe what I have to say is in some way useful for other people. It's a really tricky one. It's really difficult. I'm speaking here as a parent. You know, it's hard enough figuring out how to raise your kids when they have grandparents who are Jehovah's Witnesses. And don't get me wrong, for the most part, Jessica and Julia's grandparents are respectful of the fact that we are most definitely not raising our children to be Jehovah's Witnesses, and that we don't appreciate any efforts at all to indoctrinate them. But even then, they almost inevitably slip up from time to time, and we need to have awkward conversations. I can only imagine how much harder it would be when you have another parent, when the other parent is a believing Jehovah's Witness, and it's their right as a parent to try and indoctrinate your children into what you know to be a harmful cult. That would just be so difficult. And I suppose the first thing to acknowledge is that there are no easy answers, but there are some general principles, having thought about it a lot, because I do mention this situation as well in my book, How to Escape from Jehovah's Witnesses. There are some general principles which you in fact allude to one of them, which is how do we get a balance? I think that's the key. finding a balance. Because what you absolutely don't want to do, as far as I'm concerned, is fall neatly into the stereotype of an apostate that the children's mother is giving them, or will be at least tempted to give them. Oh, daddy is an apostate, and apostates spread poison, and everything they say is lies, and they try and lead off followers after themselves. If your behavior even remotely falls into that sort of description, the children might be tempted to think, oh, well, mummy's right. That's exactly what daddy's doing. So you need to approach this in a very measured way. As infuriating as the situation is, you have to show as much as possible how reasonable you are. And I suppose the approach I would take, well, I describe in one of my videos the way I've explained to Jessica about how it works with Jehovah's Witnesses and why it is that we've taken the stance that we've taken. I describe it as the bad men model. I'm not sure I would go with the bad men model if you're in a situation where you have people on the other side who would find that description very offensive. I would probably, I mean, again, I don't really know too much about the ages that we're talking about here, so I don't know exactly how you would go about speaking to your children in a way that's appropriate for their age group. But I suppose what I would want to do is just express to my children, look, there's clearly a difference in beliefs between what your mummy thinks and what your daddy thinks. Your mummy thinks that your daddy is wrong, and your daddy thinks that your mummy is wrong. So at some point, you are going to have to decide for yourselves who is right, your mummy or your daddy, or whether both of them are wrong. I'm not going to try and manipulate you either way. So if you ever have a question about what daddy thinks, you should come to daddy and we will talk about it. I think that's probably the way I would handle it, is to just put the power in the children's hands. As strange as that seems, because they're not really in a position to know how to deal with this. But I don't see any other way of doing it other than to let the children understand that you're not trying to manipulate them. You're not doing what is expected of an apostate daddy. You're giving them the control to approach you if they have any questions. So, yeah, that would be my approach, to just say, look, I'm an open book here. I'm not going to push what I think down your throats. But if you have any questions and you wonder what daddy thinks about what mummy's saying, just ask me and we'll have a calm conversation about it. But mummy's doing the best that she can with what she knows to be true. And I'm doing the same on my side. I don't agree with mummy. Mummy doesn't agree with me. But I'm sure we can make this work if we all just respect each other's right to believe as they choose. That's honestly the way I would probably go about it. The thing to remember as well is, and I mentioned this in my book, it's not really a child-friendly religion if you think about it. It's not the sort of thing where children are just naturally going to think, oh, I love being a Jehovah's Witness. I mean, really, when we were being raised as witnesses, did we really enjoy spending hours at a time in a windowless building listening to boring talks that were repetitive and just tedious and not remotely interesting? There's a reason why children are drawing pictures and playing sometimes during conventions and assemblies and Kingdom Hall meetings. It's because they're boring to children. You can use that to your advantage, I think. It's not a naturally attractive religion. to children. So I would suggest, without again knowing the ins and outs of your family or anything, I would suggest that the hard work is on the side of the mother. She's got a harder task ahead of her to sell this extremely controlling, extremely stifling organization to her children, especially as they get older and naturally want to explore and find out about themselves and understand the world around them. It's going to get harder and harder and harder for your ex to sell this to them. So if, while on her side, there's this controlling organization that they're being pushed into, and on your side, it's, hey, let's have conversations and let's explore things logically and let's have freedom of mind. And you can kind of understand why your children will hopefully naturally gravitate towards you. I would be more worried on her side, even though I understand how stressful it is, again, when we're dealing with a manipulative cult. So try to manage your expectations as much as possible. Things just aren't going to be perfect in your situation, but there are things you can do. And the key, again, is to just not fall into the evil apostate dad stereotype that has been carved out for you, and just be like a sanctuary of free thought for your children, which it sounds like you're already being. Just continue to be that sanctuary, that place that they can come to where they're not being manipulated and they're not being forced to believe absurd things, and where they can question freely. And hopefully things will naturally gravitate in your favor. So I hope that's made some sense. Again, I'm speaking as a parent, but that really doesn't count for much when I've not been in your exact situation. So just know that I do completely sympathize, and I'm sure there will be many listening to this voicemail who are in that situation and will probably understand it better than I do, and maybe have wiser advice. In fact, if you are in this situation and you do have some advice, drop it in the comments below. Let's make this video a place where we can pool our resources and come up with suggestions, practical suggestions for ex-JWs who find themselves in this extremely difficult situation. But that's all I have to say about this particular voicemail. If you would like to leave a voicemail, you can do so by visiting speakpipe.com/Cedars. Please indicate clearly if you don't want your voicemail to be played on the channel. But that's all I have for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the John Cedars channel for more such videos. And as always, thank you for watching.